and this is going to be an interesting session. And I hope to add value to this 1 hour that we spend, the next 1 hour that we spend. I know it's a Saturday afternoon, but at the same time, I feel this is one of the most important aspects of what is required in this journey. And we thought this is a good time for us to kind of talk about it, because I see that a lot of you are getting started with the process, a lot of you are thinking about it. So we thought this is a good time for us to even talk about how you need to plan the whole thing. My focus over here is to, um, I have close to 90 years of experience working in this industry, working with people who have applied to top schools. So what I've tried to do in this session is to put all this experience together and all the challenges that most people face when they are in this journey, put it in a proper format, and I will try to address as many questions as I can, and also try to give in more clarity on how we can help you in this whole process, right? So that's pretty much what I'm going to focus on in this session. So before I get started, maybe you guys can just put in on the chat, tell me where are you joining from, which city are you from. It'll give me also some idea on what's your bag, and also your background. Like, tell me what is what industry are you from, like where do you work, how many years of experience do you have. So you give me the city, give me the number of years of experience, and also give me what is on your mind, which industry are you from. Three things. If you could just type it on the chat window, it will help me give an idea. Okay, so Ayushi, Delhi, 5 years experience, PR and marketing, awesome. Rakesh, paint industry, 13 years of experience in Kenya, awesome. Okay, others, please type in. Okay, Varsha, 5 years. Okay, once again, I was reading Varsha. Okay, Varsha, Spanish translator in Amazon. Interesting. I had somebody who was a French translator, quite some time back. Naman, Bangalore, software experience, Sanyukta oil and gas, 5 years, Mumbai, Amia, London, 3 years of experience, fintech. Okay, awesome. From Delhi originally, perfect. All right, so great. For others who are just joining in right now, I was just, okay, Manoj is from Johannesburg, South Africa. Awesome, 8 years of experience in finance controller and commodity trading. Okay. Cool, perfect. So for all those, Shubhendu, welcome, 8 years energy sector from MP. Okay. So for all those who are joining in, I just wanted to do a quick introduction. Number of years of experience, what sector are you from, which city are you from? That also gives me an idea on where you guys are joining. What okay, so I think people are just joining in, so I will just keep admitting them, but I will go on with my what I have on my agenda today. So before I get started, I just want to kind of give you a brief introduction about myself. I'm Shrikala. I'm one of the co-founders of Crackverbal. I'm also an MBA admissions coach, MBA Masters, PhD, MIM admissions coach. I've helped students for over 2 decades now. And we specialize in Crackverbal as a company. We specialize in top 10, top 20 schools across the world. So if you look at top 10 in India, top 10 in Europe, top 10 in UK, top 10 in Australia, top 10 in, top 10, 20 in US. So that's the kind of portfolio I would say we have in terms of the kind of people we have helped. A little bit about me. If I have to give you a background about what is my background, so I worked for HP for quite some time before we started Crackverbal. And once I started Crackable, I pretty much focused on expanding, looking at the business more from an operations and from a delivery perspective, focused on the MBA application growth of this part of our business. I'm also Stanford Seed alumni. So Stanford every year, so we are part of the cohort 2 of the Stanford Seed program. So Stanford every year picks companies, growth stage companies, and helps the founders look at their growth plan to see how they can go to the next level. So this gives us an access to Stanford professors, Stanford students. So that has been a great experience from 2018 till now. We are part of this huge community that we have. Apart from that, I'm also part of the Goldman Sachs Women Entrepreneur. I'm a fellow of the Goldman Sachs Women Entrepreneur Program. And from the inception of Indian schools like ISB, we've had helped students get into schools like ISB and IIMs also. So, which also means we have a huge network, not only in India but abroad, of our own students who have got into top schools, right? So, when it comes to giving you any kind of gyan right now, it is not generic stuff. It is based on a lot of discussions that every year I have with not only our students but also admission committees, because I just want to make sure that whatever we focus on, it's honest, it's clear, and it is not wishy-washy in any sense in terms of what kind of career direction we need to focus on, we need to help people with. Because I feel career is a very important part of everybody's journey, and it is very important to give people the right direction. Sometimes I don't know the answers, but I try to make sure that where I know who to get the right answers from. I know the people who can give me the right answers for that. So that's pretty much what is our focus, and that's pretty much how we plan, or we help people plan their journey from GMAT to GRE to the entire application process. So we are in February right now. So all those people who are joined in right now, quick, I want you to just type in, are you applying this year? Are we looking at 2026 intake? 2026, applying in 2026, or are we looking at applying in 2027? Just type in on the chat window 2026 or 2027. Okay, so getting in 20, applying in 2027, that means you have a year right now, is what I understand. Okay. Okay, so Naman applying in 2026, perfect. Okay, Shubhendu 2026, okay, Ayushi 20, okay. So which means for people who are applying in 2027, we have a little bit more scope to focus on profile, and you have almost close to 2 years to plan these things out. For people who are in applying in 2026, we have exactly close to 7 to 8 months to round one, which is also a good enough time to, focus on it. And we have and round one and round two, I would put round one, round two both in the same category. I'll discuss about what round one, round twos are and all that. I'll talk about it. But yeah, so we have close to 7 to 8 months now to plan the entire thing, right? So what I want to do is, and since a lot of people have a lot of these questions around whether it is a good time to do it, whether the market is so volatile. US is in a everyday media. There are people talking about visa rules and H1B, and Europe, you've spoken to maybe friends who have done their MBA abroad, and things don't look as great as it used to be before. And this is generally more from an economy perspective. Even top schools across the world, it has nothing to do with the MBA, it has nothing to do with the school, it is more to do with the economy. So I will touch upon that aspect, also give you my perspective of what is the research I have done, and what is the kind of insight I can provide, and how you should look at your entire journey right now. Because if you are over here on a Saturday at 4:30, believe me, I know that you are serious about this, right? So that is one thing I'm pretty sure. Are we all on the same page? All of you are serious about it. Put a thumbs up if you're serious about this MBA journey. Yes, perfect. Right, perfect. So, right. So, we are on the same page. If we are serious about it, then you are at the right place. I will make sure that you bring in all the kind of clarity that you require for this process, right? So, before we get started, I'll just want to give you a few tidbits of the information, background of few people that we have worked with. Obviously, there are a lot of people. I just picked few people that we worked with last year and last to last year, people who have got into really top schools, give you an idea of what are the kind of backgrounds they came with, so that you get an idea that it is not impossible, right? It is not that they came from really some superstar backgrounds or something like that, because lot of people, when they look at these profiles, you see class profiles, or when you see profiles on the school websites, all these people came to me when we spoke. They said, mera to nahi hoga, right? How am I supposed to get in? These people have really, really great profiles, but these people got in. All right. So let me just give you a brief about all these people we worked with. Archel got into INSEAD, ISB, and LBS, all three. In fact, we applied to five schools. She got interviewed in all five schools, but got admits to these three schools with scholarship. INSEAD was her choice, and this year she is at INSEAD right now. She worked for the Bain Capability Network, 5 years experience. One thing that I remember working with Achal is she was extremely meticulous in terms of her research, in terms of, in fact, she took GMAT, I think, twice to get to the score. She had a 665 or something when she applied. But, before she came to us for GMAT also, she did not have a good score. I think she had something around lower 600s. And then she moved her score to a 665, and then we applied, and that was her journey. But what I remember about Archel was she's extremely meticulous in terms of research, making sure that you put in all the effort. Like, work comes, you know how consulting companies are, right? You're working with Bain, and consulting companies work timings are crazy. But with all that, taking out time to balance was important because it was priority, right? So I know all of you will face this, and I'm telling you'll remember me when you go through this, that you will feel that I'm not getting time to prepare for GMAT, I'm not getting time to prepare for GRE, I'm not getting time to research. All this will happen, but as long as it remains your priority, you will take time for it, right? So remember that part. Mansa was another person, very interesting background. Worked for McKinsey for almost 5 to 6 years before she moved to for Teach for India. You know Teach for India, right? It is a it's a fellowship program. She worked for there, used her McKinsey experience to work there for another 6 years. So she had good amount of experience when she applied. So a lot of people, when they say that I have a lot of experience, is it okay to apply? um, it is possible, right, for you to get into these schools, but the whole point over here is you need clarity on why are you even doing this. As long as that clarity is there, and if you're strong with that pitch of yourself, that is also something that will help. There are videos, YouTube videos of both Achal, Mansa, Rishabh on our YouTube channel. You can go through their interviews. And Mansa's score was high. She had a classic score of seven, the old GMAT score of 750. Then again, Mansa also, it was almost close to second or third attempt when she took her GMAT. Rishabh, 5 years experience, worked for an IT company, worked in a manager kind of a role, but was an avid photographer. So that was also some part of the pitch that we brought in for him. But not very high GMAT score, 700 GMAT score. I remember, he telling me that, what is the point? Can I really even apply to schools like Kellogg? And I said, if you don't apply, you have zero chance. At least you have 50% chance when you apply. And he got into the Kellogg Triple M program, right? Shreya, again, 2, 3 years experience, data analyst, work for Deloitte. Very simple kind of a background, but had a bit of international experience. Was born and brought up in in Middle East, so there was some bit of international aspects that we brought in over there for her. Some other profiles, Shrey, again, in fact, he had a break in his career when he was applying, but he had a good amount of product manager background. So people who are thinking that if I take a break, how bad it is, see, as long as you can actually talk about doing something in the break, and if it's, see, 2, 3 months is not a problem. Taking a 2, 3 month break is not a problem. But the more, if the break is longer, you have to justify it with what you did. You cannot say, I just studied for GMAT, right? So his break was focusing more on how he upskilled himself. He got into UNC and ISE, and finally took ISE, also got some scholarship after he got in. Sagar got into Cambridge. Um, See, Cambridge and all is very difficult to get interview calls also. He was a director of photography, not very high GMAT score, I think 700, 710 or something from the old GMAT score perspective. Then there was Ayush who, got into ISB and IIM Ahmedabad. He took ISB finally. 5 years of experience, JP Morgan, right? And I hope to put one of your names over here with your dream school. But more importantly, with all of these, obviously there are a lot more that I can talk about. But I just picked these few to give you an idea that it is nothing, there is nothing that we need to do, drastically to get into a good school. As long as we are clear of what we want to do, as long as we are able to pitch what we bring to the table, as long as we are able to come up. So GMAT or the GRE score is also very important. So that's also an important aspect that we definitely need to focus on. So I'm not saying don't give that so much importance, but there have been people with slightly lower scores, 645, 655, also have got into schools like LBS and all. So it's possible, right? But at the same time, just give it your best shot since you're at this stage, just starting with your prep. I want to make sure that all of you put in that effort and go with a very positive aspect of your entire journey. The only thing I want to, make sure is, so okay, before I get started on this, how many of you, what stage of GMAT are you in? Are you beginners or are you taking the GMAT anytime soon? If you're a beginner, say beginner. If you're taking soon, just say taking soon or soon. Okay, beginner. Okay, most of you are beginner. Okay, Amia beginner, Kumar beginner. Okay, Manju beginner. Okay, okay. Okay, perfect. So I think this time of the year, it's a no-brainer. Most of you are beginners, which is great. Only thing I want you to do is just bring in consistency in your preparation, right? Like I said, there will be days where you will feel terrible. There will be days where you will feel that, I really don't want to study. Just think that you don't need 2 hours to prep. Take 10 minutes, if nothing, 15 minutes, that's it. Start with that, solve 5 questions, get into that groove, and then slowly increase the time. But just focus on being consistent. Please, listen to what your mentors, GMAT mentors, Nita and Dimitra, are talking about in terms of your style of preparation. Don't go through a very brute force mentality that I have to do like 100 questions every day, then only I will score high. It doesn't work like that. Make sure that you understand what are the concepts that are tested. Make sure that you understand when you solve questions, you analyze what is the pattern you're seeing in terms of the kind of elimination you have to do for the kind of options you have. It's this English and the math, it's the same English and the math that you've always studied. It's just tested differently. It can be easy for some, it can be tough for some. Sometimes it just nerves that messes up the test. But otherwise, if you're consistent, if you just follow the plan, if you just make sure that you're able to spend 15 to 20 minutes a day to begin with, and then slowly increase maybe over the weekends, that's all that is required. So keep that in your head, that just try to be consistent, and it's okay if you don't, some days you don't do it. It's absolutely okay. Just cover it up when you get, when you are studying next. Just make sure you do that, right? So, and try to keep like a shorter plan. If you're looking at like a 3 month plan or a 6 month plan, don't make it like a 2 year plan. So all those people who are taking applying in 2027, get GMAT out of the way in the beginning, right? So that will be extremely important, so that then you can completely focus on the other aspects of it, right? I'm going to talk about the other aspects of it today to with all of you, but at the same time, since all of you are pretty much at the same stage, just get GMAT out of the way as soon as possible, right? Don't keep that lingering for 6, 7, 8 months, because that will be painful, right? So just try to make sure that you put in your best for the next 2 months and just get done with it, right? Clear, all of you? Yes, say yes, or just type, just put a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right. Awesome. Great. Okay, so now let me just give you an idea of what's happening right now, okay, in the market. And this is again based on my research, talking to people, online research, spoken to so many people across top schools. Because when I have to give a suggestion to someone, I just want to make sure that I have done my homework pretty well. Now, this is what is happening right now in the market, right? This is post MBA job market, because obviously everyone over here is looking at a better job. Everyone over here is looking at a better role. Everyone over here is looking at a better salary. Am I right? I hope we are on the same page on that. Yes, yes, same page on that. Anyone says no, I'm looking at only knowledge. No, right? Okay, perfect. Perfect. So knowledge is part and parcel of it. Obviously, I need more money and a better career and all that, right? That's pretty much the reason why I'm challenging status quo today and putting, that effort to do an MBA, right? So this is what is happening in the current market. Job searches are right now taking slightly longer. Earlier, within 3 months, if you look at most of these, if you know these rankings, right, you would have heard about FT ranking, you would have heard about Business Week ranking, you would have heard about Poets and Cons ranking. LinkedIn also has this big school ranking. So, what happens is one of the criterias for the schools to be ranked high, in fact, there are a lot of criterias, but one of the criterias for the schools to be ranked high is the average time it takes for them to get a job. That is also one average time. So this data is coming from there. So lot of it, till the whole economic, till this whole, economic, I would say instability that is going on across the world. 3 months was pretty much a timeline where people used to take to get job. Especially, I'm talking about foreign schools where foreign schools do not have anything called placements, right? They have career services who will help you get you the right connects, who will give you the information on who's recruiting and who's not recruiting. And typically, it was 3 months, which was the timeline for people to get a job. But now it has kind of increased to 6 to 9 months. There is a dip in tech recruitment. Consulting is becoming extremely selective. In fact, every year I know that companies like BCG, McKinsey, Bain, A.T. Kearney, there's so many of these consulting companies, they used to hire like 20, 30 people from these top schools. That has reduced significantly. At least 20, 30% hiring has reduced from a consulting perspective also. In fact, if you have looked at even data from INSEAD, which is known as a consulting school, there also you would see there is a dip in the consulting recruitment happening. Tech, with AI, there's a lot of change that is happening. I'm not sure if you guys have tracked the whole stock market, how TCS, Infosys, Accenture has their stock prices, which has gone down in the last week itself with Anthropic releasing Claude Cowork. So there is a lot of change that is happening in this industry. Again, it's a good wait and watch for people who are looking at doing their MBA, because by the time you do your MBA, things are going to be different. And what will be extremely important for you when you're looking at an MBA is, one is you need to be, and these are things that you need to showcase in your application, in your essays, in the way you pitch yourself to the schools also, right? Because, unlike, I'm not sure, how many of you have taken a test to get into undergrad, like CET or IIT JEE, or, how many of you have taken that test? Say yes if you've taken that test to get into undergrad, right? Most of us, right? So you would have taken a test, or it is mostly merit based, right? Now, what happens when it comes to, don't treat this program, this MBA journey like that. GMAT is just a marker to gauge your academic potential, right? So remember, a high GMAT doesn't still give you a confirmed admit, but high GMAT puts you high in terms of the kind of competition you're facing. Because even if you look at European schools, or if you look at US school, if you look at Indian schools, let me pick Europe and India for now. Obviously, because of the whole US visa issues and H1B issues and that 100K thing, that Trump is talking about, because of that, there is a slight, I have seen this year that a lot of people applied to Europe and India, picked Europe and India as their geographies. Very few applied to US who really wanted to, they anyway did. But the that also brings in a lot of competition, right? So a good GMAT score will definitely give you an extra edge over there, right? So that's where this becomes, getting a good score will become an important point. But that is not the only point. What is more important? Your career progression will be important. How clear are you in terms of what you want to do? How much of research have you done in terms of what are the kind of jobs available? See, all this is very easily researchable in today's time, right? So it is possible. You just need the right direction to how to think and how to go about it, right? So that will be an important aspect of how you have to think through this entire journey, right? AI skills. How many of you work with AI right now, and what level of how would you rate yourself with respect to your AI skills currently? How many of you have kind of adapted it at work? Okay, Rakesh, beginner. Okay, others, how 5 out of 10. Okay, intermediate, Amia. Yeah. Okay. So what level have you are you using AIC? Doesn't mean that you have to become, an LLM expert kind of a thing. But what you have to understand is today AI is changing the way you work, right? The way you think, the way you approach different aspects of what is productivity for you, right? At work, at other things also that you do. So it will be very important for you to have the right AI skills, because B schools, or rather, who are B schools catering to? B schools are catering to the industry, correct? They are catering to the people who want to hire. And what are B schools doing? They are getting the right kind of candidates, training them, spending 2 years with them, making sure that they are good fit to get into top really good companies and perform really well in really good roles, right? So B schools are catering to the industry, and industry today wants AI natives, right? So it will be very important for you to kind of even adapt to even thinking of how you should use AI in your daily work, or read up on how it is used at different kind of sectors, whether it is fintech or whether it is ESG or even your background, right? Oil and gas or energy, or a lot of aspects of it. So it will be important for you to have that skill. So all those people, we have another 6 to 7 months. There is nothing to worry about. But what I want to make sure you understand is these are skills that will be required. So be open to it, because you cannot aim for a top school and say that I don't want to do anything, right? I will just score high on the GMAT, and whatever I have, I'm going to apply. It will be really tough, right? So it will be important for you to understand that this is what is required in the world. If you really want to get into really top companies and top schools, and work and get good salaries and all that, that effort has to be put in. So I want to make sure that all of us are geared up for this, and we are very clear that this is the approach that we have to take in the next 6 to 7 months if we are looking at 2026 intake. So here is where the growth is. This is a brief data. AI and data, obviously, there's a fast growing, focus over here. More and more, I'm seeing this because so many people right now who applied in R1 and round 2, the kind of interviews that they are getting, the kind of questions that they are being asked, it is showing that yes, B schools want that kind of background, and they want that kind of value people are coming with. Fintech is another option. You know how it is booming in India. There's more and more solutions that are required across the world. So that is another thing that is, booming really big. ESG and sustainability, especially if you look at European schools, Europe generally, ESG sustainability is big over there. So there is a lot of requirement for roles over there. Healthcare pharma is going strong. Supply chain is going strong, because with all these tariffs and all these war and all that, supply chain is getting into so much of complexity that they need more and more leaders to drive this kind of a demand, right? So that is becoming extremely important, generally in this space, right? So I just picked 4 or 5 top ones over here. But what I'm trying to tell you is, for whatever industry you are looking at, we'll have to do some kind of research on what is happening in that space also, especially if you're looking at, either if you're looking at anything which is outside your own country. See, if you're looking at India, it's easier, because what happens is you don't have to worry about visa, you don't have to worry about work visa and stuff, staying long, and moving family, and those kind of things. So that will be a, it's obviously easier if you're looking at India as a geography. But if you're looking at anywhere else, any other country, it will be important for you to understand that in that country, since I'm looking at living there for next 5 to 7 years after my MBA, I want to make sure that what is the kind of work I want to do, what is this industry moving on to. Don't go blind, right? It's absolutely wrong to go blind, and that's exactly why I want to make sure that you guys understand that we have to make sure that we are well informed when we are taking this decision, right? Simple thought process I have over here is, who is going to pay for your MBA? Who is going to pay your MBA fee? You or somebody else? If say you, say I, or if somebody else put parents, father-in-law, whoever is going to pay, right? Most of you you guys are going to pay for your MBA. So you have to make sure that you are very clear on where you're putting in that money. You have to be very well informed in terms of making sure, yes, father-in-law hopes. So yeah, so where you're going to put in that money, and you want to make sure that you are having the right kind of judgment to figure out that okay, it is going in the right, you are going in the right direction, right? So that's pretty much, what I want to focus on. So there is some bit of research that you have to do on what direction you want to look at. What I have kind of done is there are these 7 aspects of, your entire journey, which will be extremely important for you to think through the entire process, right? And I will go on it one by one so that you also have an idea. One second. Okay, you also have an idea. The first and the most important thing is, having the right mindset, right? And let me just go to the mindset part. And I'm sure, a lot of people, this self-doubt thing is something that a lot of people have, right? When they start this process. Am I good enough for doing an MBA? Like I said, I looked at these class profiles and they look, they're just too good. They are coming from really awesome schools and they've done some awesome work and all that. I'm not sure whether I am good for an MBA. Am I good for an M7? Can I get into ISB? Is IIM even for me? I have studied in a tier 2, my undergrad is from a tier 2. How many of you face this self doubt? Tell me the truth. How many of you face this self doubt? Just thumbs up or anything. How many of you feel this? Always you have this thing, right? That am I good enough kind of a thing, right? And it's natural. It's absolutely okay to feel that like that. But what we have to focus on in this entire process is how do I get over this feeling of am I good enough? Right? So what I want to make sure is one thing that you have to, how do we address this? How do we make sure that I get this fear out of my head of whether I'm good enough? Because this is something that will keep coming to you throughout this process. 3 months into the GMAT preparation, scores are not improving. Am I good enough? 6 months, GMAT score is done. Now I'm scared. Should I apply to which kind of schools? Am I good enough? I have applied to the schools. Interview calls are not coming. Am I good enough? This is going to happen throughout the process. And trust me, this is something I, kind of deal with, and and it's absolutely okay to feel like that. But what I'm trying to tell you is you will face like this. Again, you'll remember when you go through this, right? And this is definitely something that you will face, but there are ways of how we should address this. One, make sure that your profile is assessed. Make sure, and this is something that we do as part of the application process. And if you are planning to start early, this might be a good way to kind of bring in some more clarity in terms of the whole process. One is do a proper profile assessment. I cannot answer whether you will be able to get in. But what I can answer is there might be some areas that are your strengths. There are some areas that might be, which you need to work on. What could be a GMAT score for the kind of schools? Because what happens is there is no formula to this score with this profile will 100% get in, right? Because if there was a formula, we are Indians, we would have cracked it. Everybody would have got into a top school, right? But what happens is every time, based on economy, based on what kind of jobs are getting, what kind of jobs are required, what kind of skills are required, B schools also kind of change their strategy in terms of who are the kind of people they would want to kind of admit, right? So it will be important for you to do like a good profile assessment to understand your gaps, to understand your strengths, to be realistic about your positioning. It's okay to aim for top schools. In fact, I would suggest that when you pick the schools to apply, pick one or two really ambitious ones, which you feel that it is out of my league, but you should, right? But, and then also pick some realistic options so that it's like a balance thing, right? If not this, at least I have an option. There are some people who come and tell me that, Shri, I want to only apply to top 10 schools, otherwise, I don't want to do an MBA. Absolutely fine. That's also a good logic to have. Some people will say that, I'm open to do T20, I'm open to T30. That's also fine. See, whatever gets you to the kind of role you want to look at, that is pretty much what you should be focusing on. So be realistic about what kind of schools you want to pick also. Research schools, talk to people, talk to students, talk to alumni, look at profiles which are maybe similar of yours. LinkedIn is a great resource to get this kind of information. Attend events, attend online sessions by these schools. Make sure that you get enough information, and this can be like weekend work, right? Where or sometime in the evening they have these online sessions, because most of them, if at least in the schools abroad, they have these evening sessions, you can attend that. But if you're looking at this process, no, this next 6 to 7 months, you have to be involved in it, right? You will have to give this process a little priority, because it's a big deal for you. It's a big deal for your career. And that kind of importance, we'll have to go do this. This cannot be a side project, right? It has to be be given more priority along with family and work, right? So I'm putting it into that criteria. And third is making sure that you start focusing on, what is it that you want to tell as your story, right? Lord, everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has something good to talk about. We just have to make sure that how do we kind of be confident about yourself, right? And it can be simple things, but there can be stories which are worth talking about, right? So one thing is mindset challenge. You will always have this, you will face this self-doubt, you know keep that. It's okay to have self doubt, but also figure out that, okay, there are some things that I need to do to overcome this, right? I can't be sitting on it. uh, Second aspect of it is school selection. um, Again, over here, I know sometimes first attempt will not work, sometimes first attempt will work, all that will happen, right? uh, you get a score and you'll say, I got a 645 only. I think I can't get into a top school. First of all, let's, like I said, have a very realistic plan, right? Focus on whether you're fit for the school. What are your career goals? Like I said, we have to look at industries. We have to look at what geography. Do you imagine yourself living in that particular country for next 7 to 10 years? At least, see, when you look at ROI, right? One thing I want to tell you is, don't consider MBA as an ATM card. As an AK, once you go into an MBA, you come out, your salary will be 3x. Possible. I'm not saying it is not possible. But your ROI typically is 3 to 7 years, whether even you're looking at India. ISB in India is charging around 45-50 lakhs for an MBA, right? Which means it will still take you around 3 to 7 years to pay off that loan. And that's the same for any other school anywhere in the world, because it is expensive. Which also means that, see, it is also expensive because it pays high, the kind of roles you get into is higher. So all these reasons are there of why MBA programs are typically slightly expensive, than others. But what I would suggest is, when you're looking at what kind of schools to pick, do research on more from a geography perspective, culture perspective. Don't get too attached to the brand name. Yes, brand is important, but also look at what could be our options. Pick two ambitious options, pick realistic two or three realistic options, pick one or two safe options also, so that there is a good balance in terms of how you're planning this. How do you get this? Employment reports, class profile, all this data is anyway there online. You'll get enough data to, get all this information out, right? Reddit might not be the best source for you to give you all this information. I've heard this from many students, that Reddit will demotivate you, and then you will say, I don't want to do anything. I just want to, sit and do nothing, right? So don't go with Reddit. You read Reddit for time pass sake, but don't get influenced by Reddit data, because it will not allow you to breathe. It will not allow you to live. It will not allow you to move forward. Uh, yes, you want to take an informed decision. At the same time, you just don't want to, demotivate yourself from just one or two stories that you see, because there are always two sides of the coin. And more importantly, trust yourself. Are you smart enough to get a job? Will you do that hustle to get a job? Will you be able to compete with the smart people who are going to be around you in the MBA class? All that will be important, right? So be confident about what you can bring to the table, and that will be very important as part of this process. A little bit about schools, and I'll just give you an idea on what are the challenges that people are facing, and what is like because these are the three top geographies that most people look at. Uh, my first focus, I would say, is start where you want to work rather than not where you want to study. Go with that thought process, right? It is not about the study, but it is where you want to eventually work. So if you look at US, typically most US programs, MBA programs are 2-year MBA programs. If you're looking at the standard flagship programs, it's great for consulting, tech project management, investment banking. These are typically very highly, and this is, I'm typically focusing on international candidates, right? These are the kind of roles people get into. Yes, there are people who get into marketing and supply chain and operations, but these are the three primary ones that people get into after MBA. Also, because most companies that sponsor H1, so H1B is the job visa that is required for you to work in US. So companies have to they have to invest to sponsor an H1 for you if they want you as a talent. I've spoken to people in Google, I know people in, top companies like Best Buy and Amazon, and I've been speaking to them, and what they've told me is, and these are people who are in high ranking roles, and I tell them that, hey, after this whole H1B visa thing, how does that change your recruitment thing? Do you still recruit MBAs from top schools? They say that they have only one mandate: hire the best talent, right? So they don't care. Top companies don't care. Yes, startups and smaller companies who can't afford that high H1B visa recruiting, that has impacted. But top companies don't bother. They just want good talent, right? And people want global talent. Companies want global talent. So that is still there. What is a good part of an OPT? So OPT is, so the time you get to live in US after you finish your MBA, right? So it is called optional training. So so it's like, for with an MBA, if your MBA is a STEM program, then you get 12 plus 18 months extra to live there. Right now, that is the status. I don't know what Trump is going to change later. But right now you get 12 to plus 18 years to 18 months to stay there, which means almost close to 3 years if there is a STEM program. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Most MBA programs in US today are STEM programs. So you really don't need to, worry too much about that aspect of it. All right. The Some things that are changing right now. Um, Again, this is something that is not really published very clearly, but if you are in a higher band in terms of salary after your MBA, you get a preference on the H1 thing also, because every year H1B visa is also a lottery system, which is job visa is also a lottery system right now. So that is something that is an advantage for people who do an MBA, because most people fall into a higher salary category. Low If you are in a lower salary category, which will not be the case for people who are doing MBAs from good schools, they will be ranked lower in terms of the chances of them getting into the lottery system, right? So yes, there is some bit of uncertainty over there. There are a lot of changes that happened in the last year, 2025. November something came out, then December. In 1 month, there were like three versions of the whole H1B visa policy that came out, right? So yes, there is some kind of uncertainty over there. However, what I've understood is people from good schools, like I said, it is taking time for them to get a job, but they are, kind of landing up into roles. So that's happening, but it is definitely tougher. Europe, on the other hand, median salary might be slightly lower. Consulting, ESG, and international. There are a lot of these. There are some roles, like if you look at companies like Amazon, they have something called Amazon Pathway Program, which is like a leadership rotation program that Amazon has. Like that, lot of banking companies, banks also have. CIBC has it, Microsoft has it. So a lot of these top companies have these programs. So that's also some good leadership programs, the leadership roles that people get into. That's also an option that you can look at. But Europe is best for ESG and consulting. UK, if you look at right now, it's a 2-year work visa that you get after an MBA. France, it is 12 to 24 months. Again, there was, certain look, last time when Modi went there, he said 5 years and all that, but I don't know whether it's not really finalized right now. But this is the status right now. Then there is Denmark, which is 18 months and things like that. So it's easier for you to get work visa in Europe compared to, in US. But obviously the number of opportunities in Europe might not be as high as US, right? Especially for a post-MBA career roles. Obviously lower salaries compared to US. Asia, on the other hand, great for finance. Obviously India, if you are in India, I don't think you need to worry too much in terms of the kind of job options you have. The only big difference is obviously, global network, and that global brand recognition might not be as high as it is when you look at schools like INSEAD or London Business School or even US for that matter. In US, for example, there are these top seven schools which are called Magnificent Seven schools. Though London Business School and INSEAD is still as good as these M7 schools, they are not added into that M7. That's the whole thing of the whole US MBA thing, because MBA started in US, right? However, Asia would be a good cost to ROI kind of a ratio, because the kind of investment might be lower. If you are in a role which requires a lot of local network, you already have been working for quite some time, that will give you a good help. But yeah, global brand recognition is something that is improving. As you see, that say so many GCCs that are coming in into India, so many foreign companies that are looking at Asia as, you look at Indonesia, you could look at Malaysia, there are a lot of these countries. Vietnam is going big, Philippines is going big in terms of the kind of roles people are getting into. So there are some options that you could look at, but yeah, those are some aspects that you could evaluate if it interests you. Japan is another option that people are looking at. They are in encouraging people to apply. But obviously, Japan, China is a completely different story in terms of whether you see yourself living there for the next 5 to 7 years. But yeah, there are people who are looking at that. Kyoto is a very good university in Japan, very tough even for Japanese people. So, people are applying to those schools also. So there are these options in Japan also. SEEBS in China is another option. But, places like Japan and China and even Europe for that matter, language is very important. You need to know the local language, because as an MBA, you will be in client facing roles, which will require you to have local language expertise, right? To grow in your career. So that will pretty much be like a mandatory thing more from a language perspective. It does not require you to know the language to get an admit, but to flourish there or to thrive there in their economy, in the job over there, it will be important for you to learn the language. That's how it is for, European countries especially. Any questions so far? I'll just stop for a second over here. Any questions? Okay, cool. Okay. So NUS is Singapore, right? It falls into the Asia thing for us. So Singapore has this 1 year LTVT, long-term visitor pass kind of a thing. NUS is also a good school. That could be also a good option that you could look at. Okay. Now, the second aspect of it is GMAT and GRE strategy. Um, Again, once you start preparing, don't give up very early. Don't invest too much time on a perfect score kind of a thing. Understand what your mentors, Demitra and Nita, are talking about test taking strategy, about, when you get to that whole testing stage, right, you will understand that when they talk about, what you need to guess, how you need to move on. There is this, a lot of people go into this misconception where they say, until I fix my ratio proportion, I will not move ahead, and I will do like 1,000 questions on ratio proportion. Until then, I will not go to any other topic. Don't get into that kind of a scenario. Focus on making sure that you balance out your entire thing properly. Understand what are the things you need to know in terms of concepts. Practice, figure out what you're missing out on, and keep making it iterative, right? Don't hold on to this perfect score kind of a thing. And don't take your GMAT till you're really prepared. Uh, Take your GMAT at least if you have taken the GMAT prep. So if you go to mba.com, there are free GMAT preps that are available. My suggestion to you would be that the MBA Prep Pack 1 has two tests. You should be able to, take that test at least twice. And unless you see the right kind of scores in those full length tests, don't go and book your test, right? There is no magic that happens on GMAT. I'm telling you, this is with so many years of experience of working with people who have taken GMAT over and over for so many years. I know that if you look at the deviation from what you see on your mock test to what ends up on the real date is only a 30 point here and there. So it can go 30 point plus or 30 point minus, right? So that's how it works. So there is never a surprise or something that will happen on that day. If you're not seeing a 655 or a 695 or 705 on your mount, you very unlikely that you will end up with a high score over there. But what will be extremely important and what I always see people mess up on is managing their anxiety, managing their whole stress of putting their entire life on this GMAT and GRE test, because they feel that if I don't get this right, everything is gone for a toss, right? So, to be honest, it is important to be on the average range, if not higher. That will help you. A low score will hurt, but at the same time, like I said, think logically, right? Do your best with whatever you can. Like I said, it has to be consistent preparation. It has to be proper direction in terms of how you're working on your, concepts, how you are practicing, making sure you're analyzing every mistake. Go with that very clean approach. Don't go with this R.S. Agarwal approach where I will solve 1,000 questions on length into breadth is equal to area, and then I will get better at it. It is your score is not proportional to the time you put in, right? Effort, yes, but not the time you put in. So what studying for 10 hours and doing nonsensical questions will not help. Spend 2 hours, spend 1.5 hours, but just do solid prep. Start with the official guide, start with what your mentors are telling you. Just don't derail yourself with anything else. And don't go and do 100 courses, because see what happens is GMAT and GRE both as a test are very finite. They have a scope. This is what they are tested. This is how they test it, right? What will be important for you is you will also have to figure out that what style works for you, right? If you go and pick 100 material and all the courses, and you have created one folder called GMAT on your laptop, it's already reached some 100 GB data already, but you don't know where to start, that will always be a problem for you, right? So go with something that is, go with a very simplistic approach. Go with one direction. If you're working with crackable team, just focus on making sure that you just fine tune wherever you're going wrong based on how your preparation is going, right? There is nothing you will miss out on if you just follow one course, right? So whatever course you follow, right? So make sure you stick to that and have a very simple clear plan around how you need to approach it without being too overwhelmed with doing 10,000 questions, right? Set up a good enough target. Once you have a good research on what kind of schools you want to apply, you will also get an idea. Okay, this is my score range. This is what I need to work on. These are my areas that I need to focus on, right? So just try to avoid burnout. Don't over invest time on things that will really not, help. And like I said, don't make it into a last resort scramble. So start preparing for your GMAT and, GMAT early, GMAT or GRE early. It will be very important for you, right? Okay. The next aspect of it is, this is again that will come up, as a question. And everybody says, I want to focus on GMAT right now. I don't want to look at essays and all. वो तो बाद की बात है. It will come only in August. That's when I have to think about it. Technically, yes, but logically, no. Right? And why I want you to start thinking about it is, and I want you to do that right now. I'm not sure if you're following me on LinkedIn, but I try to put posts on my insights with my conversations with people I've had throughout this process, right? And one thing that I always faced is Everybody has so much to tell, but when it's time to talk about it, they don't remember anything. They don't remember a single story. So what I want you to do, and I want all of you to start doing that right away, whatever tool you're using. In fact, I'm working on something to give a structure to this whole thing, and I'll be talking about it maybe in one of my next sessions. But the idea is to start documenting things, right? And nowadays it's very easy for you to do that. If you're using Gemini, or if you're using Claude, or if you're using ChatGPT, create a project on your whatever you're using. If you're using a free version or a paid version or whatever you're using, create a project and keep putting stories of whatever you experience. So say for example, today at work, there was a discussion where you kind of had to convince someone to do something, or there was a conflict, or you learned something about your business, about your industry today. Start documenting things about what you are learning, what you're seeing, about your some aspects of your personal stories that you want to talk about, because all these things will come in handy when you get to that point when you start writing his essays, right? So create a project, call it B School project, or Manoj's uh, you know uh, 2026 B School plan, and put your stories over there. Just talk, use voice notes. You don't need to type, put voice notes. It will transcribe, it will store it, keep it over there, and keep doing that throughout the process, because I want you to make sure that by the time you are at a point where you're writing essays, you will know that, okay, I have so many leadership stories to tell, I have so many conflict stories to tell, I have so many this to tell. So you have so much content that then it'll be easier for you to pick and choose of what will make more sense, right? So that will be an important aspect that I would suggest all of you should do that. And again, this I don't know what to write about will come if you don't have all this masala with you, right? So it will be important for you to make sure that you be consistent in creating all these. You don't wait for that one day where you're going to sit and do that. Just do that on a regular basis, so that you're collating everything, so that when you're ready and when you are at a point where you are writing those essays, you are a lot more in peace, because you've already kind of figured out a lot of those stories, right? So that will be something that will be important for you to do as part of the process. Another aspect which will be important is picking the right recommender. All right. And this is again an important part of the process. I know you will say that it's again not now, Shri. Why are you talking about this right now? Very important part of the process. I want you to start thinking about it. Maybe you don't have to reach out to anyone or get any recommendation letter right now, but it will be important for you to figure this out, because it will be, you have to get the person who can talk well about you, who can give examples about you. At least go and talk and get examples from them. Maybe you can document it in that same project, in another chat, where you say recommenders stories, right? What are they telling me, right? Not only from your appraisal meetings, but also from the discussions that you're having throughout the week, because if you're a manager, you're working closely with them. So all this information will be important, for because there'll be questions like, how do you differentiate this person from the other people you're working with? Now this person has to really good give some solid example over there, right? So there it will be important for you to think through all these parts. Then obviously, make sure that have like a 2 week, manage your deadlines. Again, at Crackverbal, what we try to do is we make sure that the entire process is planned in such a way that, see, if you delay, we will delay, right? Because we are also planning things properly. So what we try to do is, if you have like a deadline, if you have 5 deadlines, we make sure that we have very clear plans on when the first draft will come, when the second draft should come, when you should start. So maybe right now the writing will not even start. We will start writing only in June. But till that point, we have to make sure that we are discussing, we are thinking, we are talking to people, we are putting the right kind of stories. We are in the right direction in terms of having clarity on what I really want to achieve in life as my next step, right? So all this will help. This is also again a very important part of the process. And finally, obviously, the deadline part. It'll, time zones, you have to make sure, because some deadlines have a 5 p.m. rule. Some people will say, before midnight and things like that. Converting between IST and, Pacific time and Central time and all that is always a big confusion. So it is make sure that we have a very clear deadline tracker on all these aspects. That will also be a very important part of it. Seventh and the most important part is having emotional resilience, right? This throughout the process, there will, like I said, this, it's not only during the GMAT prep, you will keep facing this. So you have to make sure that you calm yourself down, saying that, yeah, this is all part and parcel of this process. I know these are things that I will face, but I know that how I need to kind of handle it. And in fact, right now at this phase, rather January mid to March mid, this is the phase. This is the most painful phase for most MBA applicants, because they have applied or they have been interviewed. They have not heard back. Schools are not, replying. It's a lot of panic and anxiety that goes in. In fact, just, before this session, I got a message from a student. So one of them said she got a call from Emory, and then I reached out to another guy who had also applied to Emory and he had not checked his mail. I said, "Look, I think Emory has sent an email. Can you check?" And he said, "Finally, I can breathe. At least one, this is the first call he has got from the three schools that he applied, right?" So these are all aspects that, you will face as part of the process. The reason why I'm kind of preempting this for you guys is just to say that it's all okay, right? It's all okay as long as you're thinking in the right direction. That is the only thing you need to focus on, and the only thing you need to prioritize in this whole process, right? So that's something I want to kind of talk about. Some people spoke about some schools, so I just want to revisit this slide a little bit more, and give an example. So what exactly about INSEAD are you looking at, Sahu? What is the data you want to know about INSEAD? Obviously, INSEAD is a top global school. It has two intakes. It has a September intake and a Jan intake. Jan intake has internship options. So that's something that a lot of people prioritize. At the same time, this year I'm seeing a dip from a consulting recruitment perspective. However, a lot of people from INSEAD have got jobs in Middle East, because Middle East is one place which is booming. And maybe Dubai is kind of saturated right now, but Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, all these places are something that are really coming up with a lot of these projects. NEOM, all these kind of projects are coming up. So there is requirement of good top talent. So that's happening in terms of, how it's works in these top schools. In terms of PECP, so PE means private equity for others. PECP itself is a very small community. If you look at it, it's not that they hire in bulk, and most private equity firms have unstructured internships and unstructured hiring also. So it's not like how it is for Amazon or Meta kind of companies, where every year they have a very clear mandate that these many people they want to hire from B schools, top B schools. Private equity firms are not like that. They are a lot based on the businesses that are coming, and they call it unstructured internship, because most foreign schools, your internships is what translates into your job, right? So plus it's a very network driven group. So you need to know the right kind of people to get into that kind of community. So yeah, so those are the kind of aspects what are happening in top B schools. Anything else you would want to know? I hope this gave you a clear idea on how you need to approach it for a beginner kind of phase. Obviously, I will have a lot more sessions where I will deep dive into certain aspects to bring in more clarity. Yes, Rakesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I have two, three questions. First is definitely I plan to go for the MBA for September 2027 intake.
Okay.
So when should I start the application process and all? Second, my preferred place is Europe because I've been there in a lot of many countries and my plan is to get settled over there. So the easiest way is to, do MBA over there and work over there for some time, and then I settle over there. So that is my future plan. Thirdly, if I talk about my current salary structure, so it's still in the median range of what you are showing, 90,000 to $150,000. So, does it make sense for me to do another MBA? Because my previous education has been basically from maybe a B tier or C tier MBA. I did it in 2009 and 11, and since then, the whole scenario has changed. So that is why, uh, to give a boost to my career, I want to do another MBA from top 10 B schools in the world, because I aim to be because currently I'm working as a group product manager. That is itself a senior role, and maybe in the next 2 3 years after MBA, I'm looking for a CEO role in a paint company, because all my 14 15 years I've worked in a paint company, including 10 years in India in Berger in senior role in head office.
Right.
So I see my career as a CEO in a paint company in some international location. So that is my plan as my career. So, I'm still earning in that median range, what Europe offers me, what you were showing. So, I expect something maybe double of it once I do MBA from top B school. So, I just want to understand whether it makes sense in terms of ROI, or whether I will get that kind of job. Because, after MBA also, if I get 100,000, so, it will be a bit risky for me to, resign from my current job and pursue education and look for something better.
Right. So I'll just generalize this and, so that it is more specific to one profile, but I'll give you an idea on how I think you should look at it, right? First of all, and this is true for everyone, my suggestion to you would be that go back and look at what will be your career growth in the next 5 years without an MBA, right? I want you to clearly map it out what role. So if you are in a current role, whatever your current role is, if you're sticking to the same company, what could be in the next 5 years, what could be your growth? I want you to go back. If you don't have clarity, go reach out to your HR, get that clarity, right? It will be important for you to understand your growth path there. That is number one. Number two, if MBA happens, what can change for you? Right now, you have to understand that when you're looking at an MBA, there are three things that changes typically. Industry can change, so you can pivot into something completely different. Two, the function can change. So you say, for example, you're from an engineering background, you can get into management background. If you're from a non-business development background, you can move to a non-business development background, right? So those kind of functional change can be done. And third is obviously the role change. So if you look at doing an MBA, these are the three things that you can change. So what I want you to do is, if an MBA happens, what could be your growth path? What is it that you want to do is something that you would want to kind of plan it out for yourself, right? Or at least bring in that clarity with whatever research or talking to people or whatever is required. You have to bring in that one level of clarity is required over there. Second is, look at MBA from a long term perspective. Like I said, ROI. So, the whole idea of saying that I completely understand it. It's a valid point that you're already earning so much. Does MBA even make sense more from a salary perspective? But then, what will be very important for you is also to make sure that the kind of brand you're attaching on your resume has to give that boost over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. Because when you are growing in that career, right, what will be extremely important for you, and trust me, I'm telling you, at one stage in your career, after 10 plus 13 plus 15 plus years experience, it is who you know and not what you know that will take you to the next level, right? So it will be extremely important for you to get that ecosystem, that network that typically an MBA provides. So yes, what you see on the slide was an average. At the same time, there are people who have got higher salaries also. It's still an average, right? The people who get higher and lower also. But at the
Right.
same time, you have to look at it from a long term strategy perspective. Will an MBA expedite your progression? Will an MBA give you that network that you don't have currently? Will an MBA give you that global exposure that you don't have currently? So you will have to think more from that perspective. So yes, there is a possibility that you might end up with a similar salary kind of a thing, but you it's on you of how you kind of maneuver and work around it, because you have to look at, okay, if that MBA doesn't happen, then what is my option? Then you have to look at, okay, already if I have to grow in the 5 years, in the next 5 years, you're going to earn a higher salary here, then don't do an MBA, right? It really will not make sense for you, right? So think more from that perspective, that bring in that clarity, that with an MBA, what will be a career progression? Without an MBA, what will be a career progression will be a very important thing for you to look at.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I think I got the answer because these three things, like without a MBA, I don't see much progress definitely, and with
Correct.
MBA,
Correct.
definitely, yeah, it will give a boost, and definitely the network what you are saying is missing, and definitely global exposure. So I think, yeah,
Exactly.
thank you.
And
Yeah,
yeah, and also make sure that not so depending on your level of experience, right? If you look at typical most MBA programs, 5 to 6 years is the average experience, average, right? So if you're on the higher end, you will have to pick very specific MBA programs. You can't apply to all MBA programs because you don't want to go to a class where you are coming with high experience and others are like low experience, because you will not have much to gain from them. So you also want to make sure that you pick a school or pick a program where you are also, you are competing with people, right? Because
yeah, yeah.
you're also getting back from them. That will be a very important criteria when you're looking at an investment like this.
Yeah, so I was seeing like the EMB of LBS, the averages is 40, and we have similar kind of
Yeah,
program for HEC Paris also. So
yeah,
maybe those kind of things. So I think that we'll discuss in the later stage with
yes,
you. But
yes.
what is the ideal time to start when I'm looking for an intake of September 2027?
I would suggest GMAT, just get it out of the way to begin with.
Yeah,
Application.
GMAT definitely in the next few months. Yeah.
Yeah,
After
yeah.
that, the
CMAT get
application
it
process,
done.
when do we start?
Then, yeah, then you can, get started with thinking around the other aspects of the application. Like I said, it is, completely on you. The earlier, the better. It is more like a slow research process if you start early.
You can apply this year also for September next year intake.
Yes, why not?
Okay. Okay, fine.
Naman has a question. I'll take Naman's question now.
Good evening.
Hi, Naman.
So, like, I completed my BTech in 2024. So, I'm planning for 2027 intake. So, till then, I'll have around 3 years of work experience.
Correct.
So, my main question was that, like, how much does a lesser work experience matter? Like, when selection criteria happens, like, if I go like, apply for a B school, then the person interviewing me, like, will it matter to them that I have a lower experience than other candidates? That.
Right. So, see, experience, it's not about the number of experience, but it's the quality of experience that will matter. I know of someone who, with 2 years, has, is done amazing. Like in 2 years, have got 3 promotions, done really amazing at work, shown really good career progression. That person is competing with any 5, 6 years experience person, right? So, I think it is not about the number of experience that you're looking at, but the quality of experience. What is the kind of roles and responsibilities? See, you also have to understand that when you're applying to top schools or at least competitive schools, you are competing with anyone and everyone who's applying, right? Most people who are either as good as you or better than you, right? So you're not competing with people who are, lesser than you, anyways. So you have to make sure that, okay, it's not about the 3 years experience, but my quality of experience that will matter, my clarity of goals that will matter, the thought process or my understanding of the industry that I'm bringing in that will matter. All these things will be more important than anything else. So don't worry about the 3 year part, because your experience will also be calculated by the time you join the course, not when you apply. Right. So if you're looking at in 2027, you already have 3+ years experience by 2027 August. Right. That is how much your experience is calculated. Right. So, and that's true for most foreign schools. In Indian schools, your experience is calculated till March 31st that year of applying, right? Like 2027, if you're looking at next year, right? So for Indian schools, it will be like that. Yes, you will be asked that why do you want to do it so soon? I have had that with a lot of people who are applying, and in the interview they are asked that, okay, everything is great, but why do you want to apply now? You should work for 3, 4 years. But the clarity you have of why it makes more sense for you to do right now will be the game changer for you, and that the with the confidence with which you are able to say that, and the clarity with which you are able to say that, should be something that convinces anyone. Rather, it should convince you that you are ready for an MBA, right? So that's how I would suggest you should look at it. So 3 years is not less. Typically, most schools are okay with 2 years plus, but it will be the quality of your work and your career progression that will matter more than the number of years of experience.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? No other question? No, anyone on the chat? Okay, there is something on the chat. Okay. There's a question, with 20 years of experience, does it make sense for do an MBA? It is tough. The percentage of people with 20 plus years of experience do, I mean, it's not that they don't get in. I have had somebody who, but the percentage of people with 20 years plus experience getting in is very small, like it's single digit percentage. But then again, there are other options. Like I said, look at it more from what will actually help you, because it's also a huge investment. If you're looking at anything abroad, it's just uprooting too many things. So what is your risk appetite around it will be also a very important thing. It's not only about the money investment, but also about managing your family and kids and stuff like that. People have done it. It's not that people have not done it, but again, your risk appetite, should you look for executive options? Should you look at part-time options? Will that help you in your company with wherever you're working with? That those are also some things that you can work with. So I think look at it more from that perspective and think through. And also, not all MBA will suit you, right? You also want to pick the right programs. There are specific programs that are specifically for people with higher experience, 1 year full-time programs, which you would want to kind of evaluate. That's also a possibility. Any other question? All right. So I hope this was helpful for all of you. I hope I was able to bring in some level of clarity, motivate you, encourage you to this path that you are taking. I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best for this journey. I'm sure just bring in a little consistency and focus. That's all you require. Prioritize this. It'll be important. It's always this thing, right? That suppose you get a health care, then suddenly you'll go gymming, right? Suddenly you will figure out all your food, kind of a thing. If you if there is, somebody friend needs help or something, then that person will become a priority. If work, there is something, then that becomes a priority, right? So you will have to make this your priority. That is the most important. Then thank you so much, Manoj. I'm so glad you found this helpful. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Wish you all the best. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you, Naman. Thank you.